Globally, seaweed is a huge industry, especially in countries like China and Indonesia, where they are multi-billion-dollar industries. Here in the UK, seaweed has also been a tradition for a really long time, but what we really have to do now is to work together to scale up the industry to meet the growing demand. And we're talking about products such as in agriculture, in bioplastics, and also for food to feed the growing population. What we're looking at with the Seaweed in East Anglia project is to build this local supply chain for a full seaweed industry, and where we can create products in Norfolk and the east of England that will also be used here in this area. Yeah, so what we're really looking at with the Seaweed in East Anglia project is to identify steps to scale up an industry in Norfolk and the east of England. So the whole Seaweed in East Anglia really came about because we had a group here in east of England, with the centre in Norfolk, called the Algae Innovation Platform, which was established by Hethel Innovation in June 2001. And we started with a couple of partners, and from 2001 until now we've grown to almost 150 members. Because of this network, we got funding from the Norfolk Investment Framework last year to start looking at this Seaweed in East Anglia project. And because of all the work with the platform, Hethel Innovation has been leading that with UEA and Cefas as partners. Here in East Anglia we currently have one company that has a license to farm seaweed, and that's Norfolk Seaweed. They're just in Wells in Norfolk, and they're looking to farm seaweed at Blakeney Point.
The process of farming seaweed all begins where we go and get the sporophytes, we go and get the sorus from a local indigenous seaweed that grows here. Our license allows us to grow seaweed that grows naturally within X amount of miles of our seaweed farm. We can't bring in imported species because that is wrong, because then you're going to be bringing in invasive species which no one knows what they will do to the indigenous growth of things here. So we get the local seaweed, indigenous seaweed, we cut the sorus off, and that's fertile material. That fertile material we send to Oban, and after 6 weeks there'll be little, the bare, like a cotton reel, but a big cotton reel, this long, that round with a hole right down the middle of it. That cotton reel will come back to me all fluffy with baby seaweeds. We take that, the fluffy cotton reel out there, we put a rope down the middle of the cotton reel, the spool, and we run that spool off along a line, along a rope probably no bigger, yeah, about 10 mil, that's about 12 mil, a little bit smaller than that. And the seeded twine wraps around that rope helically, and as it pulls off, it goes brrrr, like a cotton reel, and it just runs off along the line. Ties off at this end, tie off at that end, and then we lash that 10 mil rope to a 36 mil rope that's already out to sea, already in place, and we leave it over winter, and it grows. It doesn't need to have fertilizer, it doesn't need to have fresh water, it doesn't need to have any chemicals to stop it being eaten by other plants. It's totally natural. It takes its food from the nutrients already present in the seawater. It needs light and it needs CO2. It gobbles CO2, and it'll grow in about 5 months. We plan to harvest when the water starts to get to 15, 16 degrees. We will try and harvest it, because after 16 degrees, other things, epiphytes, other dwellers in the sea will want to come and eat it because they also like the seaweed.
Cefas is involved in the Seaweed in East Anglia project and work in collaboration with the University of East Anglia and Hethel Innovation. We are responsible for two main deliverables in the project. One is a brief about the best method for farming seaweed and the best species to farm seaweed in the area of Norfolk. And the other deliverable is developing maps on the most suitable area for farming seaweed with the potential for co-locations with other activity. I think the Seaweed in East Anglia project has multiple different outputs that would be really important, not just for Norfolk, but I think also widely for the UK. For example, the best practice report will provide useful information on stakeholder views and challenges, what identifies as potential challenges for the industry development. The brief on the best farming method and species would also help target what are the best approach for the farming, and for the mapping that will help to identify a suitable area. And I think ultimately the roadmap that will be developed as part of the project would also help to identify the key steps that are needed for the sustainable development of the industry.
Biotecnica is in essence a biostimulant producer for the agricultural industry, and our primary product is an extract of seaweed. The product is called AlgaeFlex. It's one of the primary biostimulants for plant health and regenerative farming. Okay, so AlgaeFlex is probably one of the oldest products around. The oldest trace we could find was in 1970s, 80s when Biotecnica started producing it. It used to be called Chase. It's in essence a foliar application containing most of the water-soluble and dispersible components from the seaweeds. The seaweeds we harvest in Ireland, in Scotland. It is intertidal species. The plant has taught itself to be very, let's say, capable to defend itself against the cold and wind and so forth. So those molecules that helps itself to defend itself is the same sort of molecules that we extract to help the plants to defend themselves against abiotic stress and the like. We get that in as a dried product. We submit that to an extraction process using water only. I think that makes us very unique because we don't use any chemicals. It's extracted, all the water-soluble components are basically transferred into a water phase, which is then polished and then concentrated to make a 30% concentrate syrup. And the residual product is sort of like a fibrous product. We turn that into a dried fiber, which we actually also use to produce a dried organic product.
So I've been a farm manager for a number of years now, and growing up as a child, I can remember seaweed being used as agricultural nutrition and a fungicide back in the late 70s, early 80s. We've obviously relied in farming on more synthetic fungicides, more synthetic nutrition since then. But we're constantly looking, especially here at Holcombe, we're looking at more nature-based solutions of how we can grow food and grow crops. And with a resurgence possibly in seaweed and the work going off of the North Norfolk coast now with trying to get a seaweed farm up and running, it just seemed like a synergy not to be missed, that we should be part of the journey of trialling work and using seaweed as part of our food growing system.
Looking down the line 20-30 years from now, I think cultivated seaweeds is the way to go. It's more sustainable, more controlled, and it's an industry that we love and support. So I think that's where the initiative with Norfolk came about, including research institutions like University of East Anglia.
Okay, so our research lab really focusing on understand material, the property of the materials, and then use that knowledge to make innovative use of materials. So for seaweed, that could be we deconstruct the whole plant and extract useful biopolymers and bioactives from it, or we could use the whole plant to make an innovative product from it. So most of the projects we're doing within our lab are collaborating with SMEs and our seaweed farmers within our region. And we have been mainly focusing on two areas, as seaweed is such a versatile material you can use for different applications. So we've been mainly focusing on using the biopolymers from seaweed to make novel applications in packaging as well as agriculture use. And the second area we are focusing on is using the seaweed as a whole plant and making them into novel functional food.
Yeah, so the Seaweed in East Anglia project has been a great opportunity to bring together the expertise from the University of East Anglia and Cefas, together with that business knowledge and understanding from Hethel Innovation, and to really work together to map out what the opportunity is for Norfolk. And we really hope that's going to enable the development of a thriving sector that can develop sustainable systems, sustainable products, and reduce wastage, reduce carbon footprint, and those great goals.
So I think what I have been noticed is most of the SMEs, small and medium-sized companies, they always struggle with having an in-house R&D capability. But R&D is exactly what university does and exactly labs like ours do. So I think that makes UEA so well placed to help and support our local business as well as our seaweed farmers to really grow the regional seaweed-based circular economy.
I think the greatest outcome would be to see some really sustainable products come out of this that are developed by our researchers together with partner industry, and to see everyone come together and mobilise around those opportunities.
To be involved with it, and a local community project like that that's going to bring a different aspect to North Norfolk is really exciting, I would say.
I think it's contributing to the sustainable development of an industry which may have quite a lot of different end uses and opportunity. As I say, could it be feed, food, bioplastic, biomaterial, biofuel? So seaweed is such a versatile resource that can be really been applied in so many different ways. So I feel that with the project we are contributing to the sustainable development of the industry in Norfolk and hopefully more broadly in the UK.
It's basically a rainforest, right? So, generating not only oxygen, but a wonderful array of biomolecules that you can use for further, let's say, development of the industry. So the scaling is great, and it doesn't need fresh water and it doesn't need land.
The best part of working on this project for me has been that I think since I was little growing up in Norway, I just really loved the ocean, and it's been fantastic for me to work on this project on something ocean related, specifically seaweed, and look at how we can really grow this in Norfolk and kind of from scratch. And it's been fantastic to see how it's all come together bit by bit, and we now actually have seaweed farmed in Norfolk, and we're now looking to connect the last steps to really get this industry going.
Project means everything. It's not really to me so much. I'm old, or relatively old. What I'd like to leave behind here is something better than I inherited.